Call to order this Bartlett Plan Commission hybrid meeting. Today is November 12th, 2020 at 7:05. Let Secretary call the roll.
Mark Hopkins.
Here.
Tim Ridenauer.
Here.
John Miasso.
Here.
Diane Nagel.
Here.
Austin Hopkins. Jerry Callis.
Here.
Dan Gunstein.
Here.
And Jim Lemberg.
So we have quorum then? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the September 10th, 2020 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any further discussions? Secretary call the roll.
Tim Ridenauer.
Yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Diane Nagel.
Yes.
Jerry Callis.
Abstain.
Dan Gunstein. And Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is number 20-02, Rana Cold Storage at 1320, 1340 Brewster Creek Boulevard for a site plan amendment. Christy, could you give us some background?
This site was originally approved on December 19, 2006 by Ordinance 2006-139, granting approval of a 300,000 square foot spec building. It was originally designed for a single tenant, Dania Furnishings, with an office area, retail outlet store, and warehouse space, with 64 exterior docks on the north and east sides of the building. In 2017, Access Warehouse moved into the western portion of the building, and in 2020, Rana Meal Solutions expanded their cold storage into the eastern 161,000 square feet of the building. I don't have my second page. The petitioner is proposing to add loading docks to the south side of the building along Brewster Creek Boulevard. Loading docks are considered, are only permitted in the rear and side yards, so they're requesting a variation for that, so that they have direct access to the frozen food section of the warehouse. That was going to be heard before the Zoning Board of Appeals at their December 3rd meeting. In addition to the loading docks, they're adding a curb cut onto Brewster Creek Boulevard, which will allow the trucks to enter in and come out in a one-way traffic pattern. There was a variation granted as part of the 2006 ordinance to reduce the number of required parking spaces. The proposed changes to the warehouse loading docks do not affect the parking requirements for the site. Their minimal amount of existing landscaping will be removed, and they are adding a significant number of evergreen trees to help screen the loading areas from Brewster Creek Boulevard. The loading dock addition will be painted to match the building. Staff recommends approval, subject to the conditions and findings of fact in your staff report.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening?
I believe they're one of the panelists. Is someone raising their hands? It's not my participants. The petitioner had told me Sal was going to be here, but I don't know if they are having problems getting into the Zoom meeting.
Okay, so you don't have anything additional to add then?
No.
No. Okay, are there any questions from the members? No questions or
Well,
comments?
wait a minute. Are these the only loading docks for the building?
No, there's already, let's see. There are currently
can't see from this picture that you have up now.
Right, there's already 64 exterior loading docks. They're wanting to add an additional 4 to 8.
And it doesn't work from the back of the building?
They wanted it at this point because of the frozen, they wanted to have direct access because of the frozen foods.
Is there a berm at all along Brewster Creek where they want to have the loading docks?
Is the berm? There is not a berm.
Is there,
There is not a berm.
Christie, do you have an exhibit that shows the rest of the loading docks?
You go back to the site plan. So she's on all along the north side of the building, there are loading docks, and then along the east side, there are loading docks as well.
Do you see those, Tim?
Well, no, all I see is a grid pattern. I don't see the docks like you have
The
pictured
dock-
in the Ford.
The dock doors are very small, but that's where my cursor is. You can see, okay? All right, you've got the panelists up here, Christie.
yeah, I see them. Quite a few.
Tim, do you see the exhibits?
Yeah, I see 2002 site plan.
Yeah, on the top of the sheet and on the right-hand side of the sheet, at every dock, there's a little rectangle. I think it represents the
All right.
overhead door.
It just looks much smaller than the 4 pictured in the front of the building.
Yeah.
It does.
So I guess what my question is, the 64 that they have now are not sufficient. Is that what we're being told?
Rana told the staff that they needed this cross-access through the building for their cold storage, so they had to have loading docks on the front and the back.
Okay, I understand now.
So the building across Brewster Creek Boulevard also received a variation for loading docks in the front yard. Rana decided to angle theirs so they're not as noticeable on the front elevation. The building to the south has their docks parallel to the road.
And this western half of the building, is that unused right now?
No,
Yeah, where you're at.
there's a warehouse company, Access Warehouse, is located within that part of the building.
Okay.
Do you know how big of the trees are that they're planting?
Diane, we can barely hear you. Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sort of.
I said, can you tell me the height of those evergreen trees that they're going to be planting along Brewster Creek?
They're 6 feet tall at the time of planting.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? No? Okay, then we have a motion to approve the petitioner's request for a site plan amendment, subject to the conditions and findings of fact.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Dan Gunstein. Yes. Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Tim Ridenour.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Next item on our agenda is number 20-08, Bucky's on Stearns, a site plan review. And this one has special use permits, A, to allow automobile service station, B, to sell packaged liquor, and C, to allow outdoor sales. This is a public hearing, and if anyone in the audience has a question or a comment, we have witness forms on the shelf back there where the clock is, and we ask that you fill out that form. and hand it into staff, and when the meeting opens to the public, they will call your name, and you can come up and have your questions or comments. When you do come up, we are asking that you limit to 3 minutes, and I don't see anyone filling out a form, so. Chrissy, do we have all the documents?
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay. And can we have some background, please?
Sure. This property was annexed into the Village of Bartlett and rezoned to the Commercial District by Ordinance 1963-7. During the comprehensive rezoning of the village in 1978, the property was rezoned to the B4 Community Shopping District. Automobile service stations were permitted uses in the 1978 zoning ordinance. The mobile gas station was issued a building permit in 1982. The 1983 zoning ordinance amendment listed automobile service stations as special uses in the B4 Community Shopping District, which makes the existing gas station a non-conforming use. The petitioner is before us today requesting site plan review for a proposed Bucky convenience store and gas station on 2 lots, which are the current sites of a Mobile and a Sonic, at the southwest corner of 59 and Stearns Road. The 4,700 square foot convenience store would be located on Lot 4 of the Home Depot subdivision. The 10 pump islands, fuel canopy, and fuel tanks will all be located on the existing mobile site. The existing mobile building, fuel canopy, and Sonic Drive-In will be demolished. The existing underground fuel tanks will be removed and replaced in accordance with the state fire marshal standards. The village's environmental consultant has provided additional recommendations to protect the soil and groundwater associated with the tank removal and redevelopment of the site. The petitioner is requesting 3 special use permits for an automobile service station to bring the existing use into conformance, to sell packaged liquor, and for outdoor sales. The new convenience store would be oriented towards Route 59 and would operate 24 hours, 7 days a week. The building is accessible to patrons from both the east and west sides of the building. It has a maximum height of 22 feet and will be constructed of concrete masonry units that have the appearance of brown brick and fiber cement panels in 3 earth tones. A decorative metal canopy is located over the entrance of the convenience store. The posts for the fuel canopy are wrapped with the same materials as the building. The existing gas station originally had 3 full-access curb cuts, 2 on Route 59 and 1 on Stearns Road. Sonic has not had direct access to Stearns Road. The northernmost curb cut on Route 59 was eliminated during the IDOT intersection road improvements, and the remaining curb cut became a right-in, right-out due to the construction of a barrier median. At the request of DuPage County Highway, the curb cut on Stearns Road is going to be moved further west from the Route 59 intersection. It will also function as a right-in, right-out since a barrier median is in place along Stearns. The site is also accessible on Stearns Road from the full-access curb cut for the internal access drive in the Home Depot subdivision, and via 2 existing cross-access points from the parking lot to the south. The petitioner submitted plans to both IDOT and DuPage County for their review, and they, in addition to the village's traffic consultant, have approved and signed off on the curb cuts location as shown on the site plan. The petitioner is requesting 2 setback variations for the fuel canopy, as well as a reduction in the interior parkway landscaping requirement. The Zoning Board of Appeals conducted the public hearing and recommended approval of those requests at their meeting last week. The zoning ordinance requires a total of 33 spaces, and the petitioner is providing 35. The landscape plan is under review by the staff. The photometric plan is also under review. The plan indicates the light fixtures under the fuel canopy will be recessed into the canopy as requested by staff. Staff recommends approval of the petitioner's site plan and special use permits subject to the conditions and findings of fact outlined in your staff report. We would like to make 1 change to condition G. The petitioner and our traffic consultant and staff talked, was it today, Richard, about the fuel tank deliveries. The petitioner has said that they feel with the existing gas station, they haven't had a problem with tanker deliveries having to have their times restricted. Our traffic engineer has said that if she's willing to remove that condition, provided the petitioner works with staff in the future if traffic circulation on the site becomes a problem. So the petitioner's agreed that if it becomes a problem, it's something he'd be willing to address with us in the future, but he does not want to limit himself to those restrictions at this time. Our traffic consultant was okay with that change. The petitioner's present. If you have any questions for him or for staff.
Okay, is petitioner here this evening? Be sworn in. You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Can you state your name and address, please?
May I remove my mask? Thank you. My name is Richard McMahon. I'm with Buchanan Energy, or Bucks, Inc., and my address is 2500 Brickvale Road, Elk Grove Village, here in Illinois.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to this?
I have a couple slides I wanted to, that are on there, I believe. Is this the-
Yeah, you have the clicker, so you can take control.
All right. Have to deal
Well,
with me
he
here.
has the clicker, so he can advance it. It's after these. It's after these. It's like one-
Go after that, yep. There we go. I think that's the right order. Christie blended my several into hers, so we'll struggle here for a moment until we get this figured out. The existing mobile site is about 33,600 some odd feet before IDOT's taking. Let me see, there we go. And this is a depiction of how much was taken by IDOT, and you'll notice it took a lot of the green area out of the front. There's our Sonic, we all know it. It's on Lot 4 of the Home Depot subdivision. The mobile site, which was built in 1982, preceded the Home Depot subdivision. Home Depot has restrictions in their REA that defines petroleum products as a hazardous substance. And so we've designed this so that we will not have any fuel, underground tanks, piping, or anything on what is currently Lot 4. So when this is done, it'll be essentially two lots that are zoned the same. The convenience store will be only on the Sonic lot, and the gas, all the canopy and the underground fuel tanks will all be on what exists right now as the mobile lot. This is what the proposed store would look like by an artist's rendition. It's not exactly perfect, but we will be planting as feather grass there on the front there in the corner where we're quite narrow. We wanted to have more front green space, but we couldn't because we can't, and I'll show that as we work this out. Let's see. I'm going in the right direction. The way we have it lined up right now, the blue outlines the existing mobile lot. And you can see, I want to point out that the blue line runs right in front of the C-store. The cyan lot, or whatever color that is the Sonic lot. And there's that red line that distinguishes it. And where we observed the distinction between what's on the old mobile lot, but you'll see that because of the IDOT taking and the need to keep the canopy and the fuel dispensing equipment off the Home Depot lot, that we were constrained by what we could do there. We have minimum distances. We've learned over time that you need to have good internal circulation when people come in the morning with their landscaping vehicles with the trailers on them and whatnot. So the dimensions on the property are kind of preordained about what it needs to have safe internal circulation on the site. This is an overview that kind of shows you how what we're doing right now sits on what's there right now. If you can kind of see our canopy, the new canopy sits exactly kind of where the existing one is. We're not moving any closer to the street. And you can see where our building sits just across the property line and kind of on part of the Sonic building. And then we have parking on the back, and I'll discuss that in a minute. But if you notice that beyond the parking on the west side, there's a white area there, and then you have the grass going to the private road. That white area is currently all concrete or paving for the Sonic, and what will happen now is we will be changing that to grass. So the total square footage of the lot's about 76,000 square feet, and 31% of this will be green space. It's just that it's in the back rather than the front, but we're constrained by it, and that's why we're on some of the variations. Christie has done a great job of showing you the store elevations. I won't waste your time with that. The parking on the back side, I neglected to mention what we're doing that for, is this company was started 40 years ago by a fellow named Steve Buchanan. He was a teenager. And we now have 95 company-owned stores and operate, and then about 76 that we own that dealers rent from us. He's always been a forward-looking individual, and he started that at 19 years old. We believe that EV vehicles are the wave of the future. We reserve this back end for such a time when EV vehicle charging gets standardized in the United States so that a vehicle of all types can kind of come in and charge. Right now, we're still in kind of that Betamax versus VHS thing where the plugs are different or whatever. Plus, not all electric vehicles can sustain under their warranties a 20-minute charge where you can get beyond 10 miles. We're waiting for that. It's happening in Europe. They're standardizing and they're moving ahead. When that happens here in the United States, we want to be able to come to Bartlett and say we would like permission to put in charging stations along the backside. So you'd be one of the first communities in Illinois that would have a charging station. Why we can do that and others can't is our store is larger than the typical C-store that's out there already or is out there already. What will happen is we will at that point be able to reorient the inside of the store and redesign what we do inside that store so that people can come in and spend 20 minutes doing something in the store rather than what you currently do in the industry. And so that's an advantage. And retail, is constantly evolving. We want to not be like Kmart, which didn't evolve, and Walmart left them in the dust. So we're trying to get ahead of it, and that's what you see there. And let me see. We're asking for a special use so we can have some outside displays. This is typically what it would be. I think we're asking for propane too, but we are not allowed under the REA as it exists right now to have propane because Home Depot has written that out as a competitive item for sale. So in most of our stores we have propane. People have learned to have that. We want the right to have it, should Home Depot ever allow us to have it in addition to the seasonal items here that we're asking for in a special use. If anyone has any questions about how we handle our stormwater, I'm more than happy to answer it, but I won't bore you with it at the moment. All I can say real quickly is all the water that falls on the canopy and on the roof of the building is handled, it goes into the storm sewers. But any of the water on the driveway, it goes into a collection system that then goes through this downstream defender before it goes into the storm sewers. And is required by DuPage County and other communities. It's there, it works, cars spill a little bit of oil, the drips of the oil, and then it rains and they wash up. Rather than going into the storm system, they go into this, and we maintain this every 6 months. We have to come out and look at it. We open it up and see if there's anything in it, we remove it. The tanks, the underground tanks, you remember they're installed in 1982. It's about time they come out. One advantage to the community of our being able to be allowed to do this raise and rebuild is we'll put new state-of-the-art tanks in. And the state-of-the-art tanks are double-walled. I would have brought in one segment of it so you could actually see it, but with COVID nowadays, I don't think anybody really wants to handle something that they don't know where I've had it. what you have is double walls and then an interstitial surface between, space in between the double walls. There are sensors that detect either motor fuel going into that interstitial area or water. So if it leaks from the outside in or from the inside trying to get out, the sensors detect that and shut down the whole system. And we can't operate and sell fuel until the problem's solved. All the piping in the underground installations is also double walled. And so it's a major improvement over what is currently in there. These tanks have 30-year warranties, and the people who manufacture them have never had a claim against a properly installed tank here in the United States. And then, you know, there are monitoring wells and observation wells that will be put in around the well. We will have observation well and monitoring wells because as part of the environmental cleanup of the existing tanks, we'll have to monitor. And then we also have these observation wells. We can, you know, kind of take a look in there and see if there's anything going on. And it's just, and at night, every night, when the store isn't real busy, the computers actually test the pressure on these tanks. And if they don't work out, it gets shut down again and we have to monitor it. So I don't think I have anything else. And this is our installers. Not just anybody gets to install the underground tanks. The people who install the tanks have to meet all sorts of certifications, and then always the state fire marshal is there not only when the old tanks come in, but when the new tanks go. Not when the old tanks come out, but when the new tanks go in. I don't have anything else on that. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
I have one question. Can you explain to me again what the constriction is that keeps you from moving the whole project a little to the west?
Yes, we can't put any motor fuel on the Home Depot lot. It's a hazardous substance prohibited by their REA.
So
Does that mean
the
you
layout that we
have motor fuel all the way up to the face of the retail building?
Well, no, we have, the tanks are out by the road, and then there's the motor fuel goes from the tanks to the dispensers underneath the canopy.
So what
We have
stops you from
circulation.
pushing the whole thing 10 feet west or so? If motor fuel will not cross that line, what stops you from pushing the whole site plan west, I think is what Tim and I are saying.
Right, just to give us a little more green space along 59.
Right.
A little more protected.
We looked at it and we just felt that it was just best not to get involved with Home Depot's REA on anything to do with gas. It's an open issue there, so we've left, for instance, all the cross-access points untouched. It's just, we didn't want to have anything that we could consider hazardous substances on their site. And while the pipelines aren't in there now, we didn't want to leave any room for interpretation for that.
It sounds like you ought to ask.
We've been asking on other things. It's one of the reasons I'm here, and it's been so long since the time I originally started working on this, is because Home Depot's very reluctant to provide any answers very quickly, and it's flat out, they can't even give us permission on that. I would have to get permission from all the other people on the site too.
Well, if you don't have any motor fuel, right, right now,
But it's regulated.
it's not making sense to me that the line that's at the face of the building, the old mobile lot, seems like that's not where the tanks are or where the motor fuel dispensing is.
But the site, that lot, the Exmo, is a gasoline lot. Its soil is considered separately and everything else. It's not just a question of whether or not the fuel lines are on there, it's the use. And that lot's
Well, that's parking there. So if that line if everything moved, say, 10 feet to the west, that line wouldn't get out of the parking spaces. Mr. McMahon, I'm not, without no disrespect, I just don't see it. I don't understand the rationale here.
Lot,
Nor do I. Can
There's
you
no-
move the canopy 10 feet to the west or not?
I'm not sure I did not hear you, understand you.
Can you move the canopies 10 feet to the west, which would mean you would have to move the building 10 feet to the west and still be in compliance with the fuel tank storage and not be on the Home Depot lot with it?
Right.
No, because we feel that that would be causing Lot 4 to be used for motor fuel and all the attendant issues that would come up with it. So we've just tried to keep it clean. We're keeping the C-store on Lot 4 where it's a permitted use underneath the REAs, and we're keeping all the petroleum, anything to do with the petroleum, off their lot.
We understand that part, that you do not want any fuel tanks or service or anything else on the western lot. But our question is, can you move the canopies and pumps 10 feet to the west and still be in compliance?
No, because if we move over to that, Lot 4 is being kept free of any motor fuel, and the existing, we're keeping all the motor fuel on the other lot because we have to register that lot with the state fire marshal. It is a lot that has contamination on it. We're keeping it separate for that reason.
Well, you're not moving the
understand.
contamination west. You're not moving the contamination west. You've got a sidewalk and parking. What difference does it make where that falls on the property line? If the tanks and the dispensing remain on the mobile lot?
The use. We had a store we built in Wheaton, and we actually built it and operated it before we actually finished the re-subdivision until we had all the contamination cleaned up and it had a no further remediation letter. Then we combined the lots. A lot that's contaminated, as is the existing mobile lot, brings in a lot of other different issues, and the use of it and the parking, we just wanted to keep them separate. And we didn't feel there was an issue.
Retail building moves
The
west,
canopy's
it
not
moves
moving.
further away from the contamination. You know, there's all this vapor mitigation and what have you in the environmental report. I'm just not understanding it. Are there other reasons that stop you from doing it? It just doesn't make sense to me at present.
Legally, we wanted to keep it clean, and we also felt that the canopy's not moving any different from where the existing canopy is right now
I
either.
understand that.
And it's the same lineup as the one across the street.
It is, and before we had the taking on 59 and Stearns, you know, we had much more of a significant setback on the BP than we were left with. And really, what we have now is pinched and compromised on the northwest corner with an uncomfortable carriage walk. It would feel very dangerous to walk on if you actually had to use it, right? And the geometry, I think, is shown on the exhibit site plan that picks up that corner and shows how the walk is working and the paving area up there, no, on the northwest corner for comparison. And that's not where we started with the project, but that's what we ended up with after the taking. And the modification of the corner, I kind of hate, this is a great project, it's a great project. But the corner is very pinched, and you have all that land to the west. And why that can't be pushed back, unless you're just sensitive about marketing, and that's what the real answer is here, because I'm just not buying, I don't hear the real reason that doesn't stop you from sliding this whole thing westward a little bit.
If that happens, we will not be able to do the project.
Can you move the building 10 feet to the west?
We would not want to because it increases the distance people walk from the dispensers under the canopy. We've just learned that that's the best spot
I
to have it.
understand that, but if you can move the building 10 feet to the west, then you should probably be able to move the canopies 10 feet to the west and still keep all of your gasoline and storage on the mobile lot. That's our question.
We feel that the uses are distinct by not having anything to do with Lot 4, the Home Depot lot. We also, as a secondary, feel we don't want to be beyond where the BP is. We have a tax advantage here in Bartlett from Cook County, and people coming down south, we would like them to be able to see our canopy and not have it blocked by our competitors. And we have not moved the canopy any closer to the road than the existing one is right now.
Is it not closer to the road due to the taking of the property?
I'm sorry, I cannot move this. If this project isn't approved now, before the end of the year, it won't happen because of tax law changes and whatnot from my seller. My contract with the seller expires on December 28th, and it will not be renewed. So this is a one-time shot.
Take it or leave it, huh?
Yes, sir. We've
I've got
worked
a-
long and hard on this, and staff has recommended it, and we feel we need to do it this way. And I do not have time to go back and change it.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think that that intersection was really compromised when it came to the expansion along Stearns Road there. I mean, as it is, we limited the size that we have of those, of the edge that we have between the sidewalk and the road. If this petitioner is not moving that awning any closer, I don't see why we can't accept that as well.
Okay, we understand the reasons here. We're just not sure whether we're giving up too much green space between the road and the property and the project.
We don't believe we're giving up green space. We're not taking any green space that's there. We're just not creating more. And we feel weighing all these issues, having as much in the backside, which is a vast increase on the amount of green space on those combined lots, is more than adequate compensation for this.
Do you have any intention of putting a car wash in there and then green space?
No. There are
Or do you?
several reasons why that can't happen. Number one is the REA governing Lot 4 will not prohibit or will not allow a car wash to be built within Home Depot. They allowed one, and that's the only one that's there, and that's the one that's on the backside. So we're not asking for one, and quite frankly, there couldn't be one if we even wanted it, because Home Depot has expressly prohibited that.
I've still got a couple more. I've got a couple more questions if nobody else does.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. For outdoor sales, you showed the washer fluid and said, let's get some propane if Home Depot will let you do it. Is there anything else? Piles of mulch, water softener, salt, et cetera?
I know we don't do water softener salt.
What else will we see there?
Up against there, nothing else. Typically, what we have is just propane and, and occasionally firewood in the season for the firewood.
Okay. And is there a possibility that this is going to change to a Casey's?
Yes.
And will that change the aesthetic or the signage?
It will change the signage, obviously, but I don't know about the aesthetics. They will have to come back and talk to the village to do that.
Are we going to be able then to say, great, the building will be the building. The signage is approved in another venue anyway, but you're not talking about changing the overall character or the size of the signage that you've presented tonight.
No, we will not be changing the signage, we will not be changing the footprint of the building. As it's approved right now is how it would be built. They may ask to change the trade dress from ours to theirs.
I'm finally done.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? I have a question for staff. Does the village have a definition that's different between a service station and a gas station? Or are they both the same?
We do not have gas station listed in our zoning ordinance, so we use automobile service station for the special uses.
But we are planning to update our commercial chapter in the zoning ordinance, and that will be changed. So we feel that's a little bit outdated terminology.
I've seen that as a common problem in a lot of communities.
And then a question about, if you go back to the site plan, they're connecting a driveway now from the southern driveway exit all the way over to the drive that goes to Home Depot. Does the village expect people coming out of Home Depot to increase traffic on that driveway so that they don't have to go up to the traffic light and turn right to go south? Because they're just going to do a shortcut going through there once they figure out it's there.
Our traffic consultant didn't have any concern with the amount of traffic utilizing that site. The main concern was traffic coming, DuPage County had some concern with traffic coming north from where the Starbucks is, and trying to, Roberta's kind of showing the motion and trying to get into these left turn lanes to make a left onto 59, but there wasn't any concern about cars using that as an access point. A lot of times, people would probably go down to the light. We expect, staff supports having cross-access easements throughout developments like this.
Anyone?
One more. Landscape plan shows all new materials?
Not all new materials. There's some existing trees along the private road there that will
Point out the
remain.
ones that are existing to remain? That's the point of the question.
Yes, so a lot of those mature trees are remaining, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'll open it up to the public. If anyone has a question or comment, fill out the form that's in the back of the room over there and hand it to staff.
We're going to check on, just to make sure
We
online.
have some in there? Okay.
No one from the public for this.
Okay, no one in the audience has any questions or comments? Okay, close that portion of the public hearing. Anyone else have any updated questions or comments? Jerry, anything about, no? Okay. And I guess we have then.
I do agree with what Mark was saying, about moving it. I mean, I agree with you. What the hell's the thing if they can't move it? I mean, they got plenty of land over there to move that whole thing to the west.
I think there's enough in the minutes, going to be enough in the minutes now
Okay.
that the village board would hear our concern.
Okay.
Mark, are you sure you didn't want to ask about the rooftop mechanical screening?
No, because you've answered it so well for the last 5 years or so.
I was going to point it out to you if you wanted to see it.
And I'm not worried about lighting this time, or music
Or the rap.
because of its position in the world. There's nobody to hear it, right?
Okay, and no further comments, then would staff like just one vote on all three special use permits, or do you need a vote?
It's up to you, however you want to do it.
Does anyone on the commission have a problem with one vote for all three?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
Do one at a time.
We'll find that last page yet. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the petitioner's request for Bucky's on Stearns site plan,
So moved.
special use permits to allow automobile service station, to sell packaged liquors, and to allow outdoor sales?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
And that's with the amended condition that Christie stated at the beginning of her,
That we aren't going to restrict the tanker deliveries we're not going to restrict the tanker deliveries to these hours, but we will work with the petitioner in the future if it becomes a problem with site circulation.
are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that was clear as part of your motion. Okay. And then it's my understanding that Mr. Gunstein is going to recuse yourself from the vote? Okay. So I'm not going to call you. Are we ready?
Ready to call the roll?
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes?
Tim Ridenhour,
Based on the amount of work staff did with this and their recommendation, I will vote yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
We have 5, so we have,
You have it?
yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your consideration.
That was my pen. And next item on the agenda is number 20-17, Brewster Creek Business Park, lot number 2A, a site plan review. Let's see, where's that at?
Holy, that's big.
Oh, it's the pages here. Okay, Christie, give us a background? All right.
The petitioner is requesting a site plan review for a proposed 435,692 square foot warehouse building on just under 25 acres in the Cook County portion of the Brewster Creek Business Park. The building's designed with the potential for 4 tenants, each containing a 2,500 square foot office area located at the corners of the building. The remaining 435,000 square feet of the building is designated for warehouse space. The proposed building would be 44 feet tall and be constructed with insulated precast concrete panels. The color palette proposed consists primarily of shades of white and gray with blue color accents. The site plan identifies 50 exterior docks, 25 on the north and 25 on the south sides of the building. As with the previous case we had today with Rana, they are proposing loading docks in what is considered the corner side yard along Jack Court. So they're requesting a variation for that. They are also requesting a variation to allow a reduction in the number of parking spaces. Those 2 requests will be reviewed by the Zoning Board of Appeals in December. The petitioner is proposing 1 curb cut along Spitzer Road and then 3 along Jack Court. The easternmost curb cut along Jack Court has been moved by the petitioner so that it does align with the existing curb cut for the property to the south. The site plan identifies 125 truck trailer stalls for additional parking along the east and north property lines. Staff's currently reviewing the photometric and landscape plans. Staff does recommend approval of the site plan, subject to the conditions and findings of fact in your staff report.
Is the petitioner here this evening?
He is on, commercial. Right, because we're the attendee for this. Yeah. The petitioner is not present. They were earlier. I don't know if they disconnected from Zoom.
All right, any questions from the members on the commission?
I have a question, Chrissy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is there a waterway on that lot? Is that staying there, or what is going on?
Is there a what on the site?
A waterway, it looks like there's a lake. Is that a lake?
If you go back to the site plan, that wetland is located northeast of the site. So can you go to the location?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah. So it follows it parallels with the edge of the wetland.
I see that. Looks like there's one within the site, though, on.
Oh,
I'm looking at
that's
the one-
all, that property's all been regraded.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been filled.
There you go. All right, thank you.
They've been grading that already, haven't they?
Yes.
Well, they're already building just south of that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This building will be a little bit larger than the one that's currently under construction.
Yeah, that one's big.
Can we discuss the parking variation requirement versus what they're proposing?
We can. So they are requesting a variation to reduce the number of parking spaces by 40.
Oh,
So
And
they
what
had
the lo-
originally shown land bank parking in the middle of the loading areas, which staff was not supportive of. So we asked them to remove those spaces. We didn't think it was safe for circulation to have parking in the center of loading.
Are we having a problem out in the business park with excess parking on the street?
The areas that we have had parking have not been warehouse facilities. It's been more where there's food processing.
So we're going down from how many spaces to how many spaces?
So this is going from 463 as required, and they're proposing 423.
Okay. That's better than I thought it was.
Did I miss it? Do you have a proportion of how much is office in this building and how much is warehouse?
So it would be 10,000 square feet of office area, and so 425,000 square feet of warehouse.
All right, and by your two multipliers, you come up with 463 then, is that it?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Anyone else have comments, questions?
I have a couple questions on the site plan. We're just looking at the site plan, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So off of Spitzer Road, it shows a truck entrance drive at 30 feet. Is that wide enough, and is that approach large enough to accept trucks in and out? Second, are we limiting the trucks in or out, or is that a full access point there?
On Spitzer?
Yes.
Is proposed to be a full access.
Full access, okay. Are there going to be congestion, is there going to be congestion with the trucks and the cars going out that same approach?
They did not want to have passenger vehicles using that approach. That was only going to be for trucks.
Okay, so auto is strictly off of Jack Court?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a reason it's opened up there then? At the top, right there, is there a reason that's open then? Is it just an emergency out?
I would say it's an emergency out for fire. They like to be able to
Okay.
have full access around the buildings.
All right. And then the rear of the property where the angle is on the 30-foot setback, it looks like an awful tight area there to accommodate trucks going in and out of there. And I know we're already reduced on parking stalls, but that seems pretty tight, where semi-trucks are gonna bounce over those curbs quite a bit. Just, if you look where that concrete island sticks out, it just seems like that's pretty tight there.
That's something we could probably approach them with, so, because that does exceed the width requirement for our landscape islands at that location, so we could adjust that.
I think that little adjustment there would save the trucks from going up over the curb daily. And then I'll go back to Jack Court. You know, I think that we need to put no parking overnight on the truck on Jack Court as we continue to see these buildings going up over there. I know that a couple times I go through there and I see trucks overnight just parked, but that's on Munger Road and some of the side streets.
There are no parking signs.
There
posted
is?
in-
I haven't
yes,
taken a ride past
and-
there,
And the
so.
police can write a ticket for that, so.
Okay. Is it
What are the hours of operation? Sorry.
Is it our intentions that the trucks would circulate off Spitzer Road, load, and come out onto Jack Court? And if so, the truck auto entrance off of Jack Court, I personally think that this large island that sticks out here should be lined up so those trucks can somewhat come straight through there without, that's a large turn for a truck there. Or move the entrance down a little bit.
The entrance is where we wanted it so it aligned, so we can look at reducing the landscaped
That's-
island, but we don't want to move the curb cut.
That's my only concerns is just those islands.
Any other questions?
Yeah, can I ask, what are the hours of operation of the office?
It's a spec building, so they have not given us hours. They don't have any tenants at the moment.
Okay.
So as a spec building, Christie, if somebody came back and wanted to build a higher proportion of office, we'd have to tell them no,
If they wanted more office square footage,
as a proportion,
they would have to come in and ask for a variation.
okay?
Or they could convert some of the truck parking to passenger vehicle if we had to do that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
How did they figure on 10,000 square feet for an office then? Is that standard?
That's typically what have been shown on the spec buildings.
Okay.
They typically do not have many employees.
That's what I'm saying, so that's ample enough.
Correct.
He stated at the Village Board Committee meeting, I wish he was on tonight, that they felt very confident that they would have enough parking for this type of building. They feel that they're actually overparked.
Well, that's good.
Anything else?
What is the truck flow pattern here? Is it just north, east, and south? Or are they gonna drive through the parking lot on the west side also?
Trucks will not go through the west side parking areas. The trucks are meant to be more along the exterior of the site.
So the north, the east, and the south sides will have the truck flow?
Yes,
And the south side is several loading docks off, correct?
correct. That's their other variation request.
Okay.
I can just tell you a little side story that I did the landscape inspection on the building to the south that's pretty much the same size. I walked 5 miles that day. That's how big that building is.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 10,000 steps.
Yeah, it is huge. I've seen
Yeah.
it being built.
When our inspectors go out to inspect that building, it just takes forever because it's just so big.
How many trucks do we expect going in and out of there every day then?
I think that's going to depend on the users that they get.
So it's hard to speculate on our speculative office warehouse then.
Yeah. Okay, no other questions, comments then? And we're looking for a motion to approve the petitioner's request for a site plans, subject to the conditions and finding of fact.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Dan Gunstein,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Tim Ridenour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel.
Yes.
Okay, we're good.
Yes. Okay.
Beautiful building.
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it?
Next item on the agenda is old business and new business.
So I'd like to introduce our new planner, Devin Camperschroer. He is sitting in the overflow room so that we don't exceed our maximum number of people in the room. And we're very happy to have Devin. He's been already a great asset for us, and it's really helped Christy and I in the department.
Hi, Devin.
Hi.
See him.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah. I don't think we have items for next month, so we probably will not have a meeting, but I will tell you that from here on out, until I hear otherwise, we are going to go all Zoom at our next meeting. So no hybrid, as far as I know, because of the limit to 10 people. It's very difficult to maintain that, so we have been told the village board is going all Zoom as well.
And when you say Zoom, is that conference call, or are we actually going to be on Zoom
It's on Zoom,
video?
yeah.
Okay.
Are we on Zoom now?
Yes.
But this is a hybrid because the staff and some of the commissioners here are in person, and then you're on Zoom. So this was a hybrid meeting, but we are going all Zoom at our next meeting.
Will I be able to see other people? I don't like this where I only see myself.
If they choose to
Sounds like a-
show their video, you will see them, Tim.
All right. Is the village Christmas party going to be by Zoom also?
I don't think so. Also, we reviewed building plans just recently for a Wheaton Eye Clinic that is going to be located in a former bank building at the Home Depot subdivision. So that one building that's vacant right now, the bank, it's in the front,
Right.
they're looking at converting that to the Wheaton Eye Clinic.
Parking.
And then, what else do I have? So normally, I got a lot of new business tonight. What's going on? Normally, we would, in December, provide you with a small token of our gratitude and say thank you for your service. But since we're not meeting, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I think what we're going to do is we'll send out an email, and we'll just drop a little bag on your front door and let you know. But I would like to say that we have one plan commissioner that's celebrating a big milestone, which is Diane Nagel. She's been on here now 15 years. So,
Congratulations.
Imagine that.
thank you, Diane. So
Thank you.
We'll drop off a little something for you, and we'll let you know when we do it, so.
Thank you.
And I think that's all I have. Christie, anything?
No, I'm good.
Does anyone on the commission have any comments? No? No. Okay, then we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Adjourned.